Well, hello, farming friends, and welcome back to another edition of Farming Simulator 2015 with me, your old buddy, Mr. Moose. And welcome back to our farm here on Coldborough Park. We have moved after a couple of days at North Vermont. It was time to mix it up and get back over here, so that's what we're doing today. By the way, let me mention that if you're looking for this map and you'd like to know how to download it, I do have a link for it in the show notes. A lot of people don't read the show notes, but I always put the map, just link for every map that I do is in the show notes for that particular map. So if you're looking for it, you can go get it. All right, so where are we at with Coldborough Park Farm? Let's bring up our little HUD here. And as you'll see, I've got 3 fields planted with canola in them. 2, 9, and 8. We did 9 on camera, and then I did 8 and 2 off camera. So those are done. The rest of the fields have been cultivated. 6 and 7 I was messing around with earlier, and I ended up fertilizing those, so those are done. So we still need to fertilize 3, 4, and 5. Probably do some of that, and then do some planting as well. But that's kind of where we're at. Now you'll see field 20 down here. It has been devoured. As you see, it's blue. I went through there and mowed grass. That is where I also made my hay bales. So I went through there off camera, cut some grass, tethered it, and then windrowed it and baled it up and hauled it away. So it is all up here now at our little farm up there that's got the pigs and the beef. This is where I'm going to keep all my bales and my mixing technology and everything. I'm going to end up keeping that up there. So I thought we would jump up there real quick, and I'll show you what I've done there. If I find the right setting for it. This is what I was looking for, is this guy. So I can jump off of him. So we're up here at the beef and pig farm. And so what I had to do is, you'll notice there's a new structure here. This particular shed here, while it's very large and you could store a lot in it, unfortunately, if you put more than this in a certain section here, you start getting frame rate issues. And so I had to come in here, and instead of filling this thing completely to the brim, which I would normally do, I had to move and have additional storage facility somewhere. So we came back here in field number 31, which we already owned, and instead of using it for a grass field, which we still can use parts of it for a grass field, I plopped this big old structure down on the ground. And now that I look at it, I realize I made a lot of mistakes that I should have corrected before I plopped it. I should have cultivated the ground to kill all this grass off before I dropped the structure. As I've mentioned before, when you're placing a structure like this, if you want to get rid of the grass that's underneath, go get your cultivator and just run through the grass with your cultivator, and the grass in that section won't grow back. And then you could have gotten rid of this, but I don't think this is cuttable either. None of these trees are cuttable. I'm pretty sure it's not cuttable. Yeah, no little blue thing. That's a bummer. Alright, so anyways, this is where I'm going to keep all extra bales, round bales. You see I've got my bound hay bales, and then I've got my haylage, and then I've got some leftover square bales of straw, and then that's my bale transport there. So yeah, we'll keep all of it up here. I'll move my feeding technology up here. So what we'll do is we'll load here, mix our TMR here, and then if we need it down at the dairy farm, I can truck it down there, or I'll have it right here at the pigs and the beef to feed them as well. But let's be out of the way and give us plenty of storage. So the placeable haul here, it is one that I've had for a while. You probably, if you watch the stuff on My Big Country, you'll know that I had that used for vehicle storage right there behind the pig farm. So but I've had it for a bit of a time. It's just a little placeable mod that I found on mod hosters, and yeah, it's pretty simple. A little shed. I like it. It works good. I got a couple of those. So anyways, that's what we've been doing up here to get this area in order. As far as the TMR goes, and by the way, when I mentioned TMR, I got another email about it. TMR, total mixed rations. A lot of people just call it mixed rations in the game, but that's what it is. TMR, total mixed rations. So, anyways, that's that. What we're gonna do with the feeding, I'm gonna start with the in-game feeding technologies, and we'll use it to mix our TMR for a while. Just so you guys can see what the ratios are on it, how to use it. Believe it or not, there's some people that email me on a regular basis they don't understand how to use the feeding technology. So we'll get into that, and we'll cover that as soon as our silage is ready to go, or in our case it's haylage, but as soon as it's ready to go, we'll get that going. So and that's what we'll do. Eventually we'll move in and drop a mix station, and we'll have a mix station up there as well. So, the Fendt tractors. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the 1050. In a previous video, I believe I mentioned to you that there was an update for the 1050 from Timber, and that it was supposed to be the fix for version 1.3. Yeah, it's and I was hoping it would fix that sliding issue we were having in the field. Yeah, don't get it. Don't get it, and stay away from it if at all possible. What you're looking at, if you see a file called Fendt 1050 and it says version 3.6 and it has the word fix behind it, don't get it. I got it yesterday, put it in the map, finally updated to it, was really excited to get it going and use it and see if it slid across the field here. I put it in my map on Hosehausen, and if I had parked it like right where it's at, within 5 minutes it would have slid over here to where the pressure washer was, and it was ridiculous how bad it was sliding across the map. Just to verify that it wasn't just me that was having that issue, Landy installed it on his, and sure enough, he had the same issue. We both hesitated to get it, just because we had other things going, didn't have time to update, and because you got to go into every profile and delete the old ones and then put the new file in and then repurchase them, and I had done all that stuff, and by the time I took an hour to do that yesterday and put it in, and then I realized it didn't work right. So I thought I would warn you guys, stay away from it if you can. The version I'm running right now is the Fendt 1050. It's version 3.6, and then right after the 3.6 it has the letters OFM, and that is what I'm running. It allows it to stay stable, but the back wheels don't juke around. It doesn't have the place script on it, or the plow script. It does slip a little bit in the field up here periodically. It'll slip just a little bit, but once it anchors itself, it seems like it stays in one place. So that's what I'm using. And it brings me to a point that I learned a lesson the hard way, is make sure that when you change out your mods and you go to an updated version, like from the OFM to the 3.6 patch or fix, make sure you hang on to that previous version for a little bit, just to make sure that it works, because a lot of times they'll put those up, and unless you're on a mod hoster site where they keep the old versions available as well, you might not be able to get that previous version if you just throw it in the trash and delete it. And last night I actually threw mine in the trash, deleted it, and was like, oh no, I made a huge mistake. Luckily for me, I had made a backup copy when I was back still doing isolation. I had made a full copy of all my mods, and I had them sitting in another folder, so I got lucky on that one. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out to you on that. This guy's working great. This is that 900 series Fendt, and by the way, if you'll notice, as my camera pans around, I did manage to get track IR working, and it's working pretty good. I had some issues. It took me a little while to get it all configured up right and to get my distance from the receiver correct. I was sitting a little bit too far back from it and was having some issues especially when trying to back up. But I've sort of gotten that worked out. It's a little awkward backing up because you have to look one direction and tilt your head the other direction so you get your camera angle right. And I'm now hung on that wall there. So, but it's pretty cool. The installation progress we'll talk about a little bit during this video. The whole process, not progress. The installation process is a little tricky to get it to work for farm sim, but it's not too bad. The issue I ran into it was one of the pieces of software that you're supposed to use with Upside Down's mod suddenly became unavailable. And I'll get into that in just a little bit. Luckily I found it and was able to get everything installed. So, but I'll be using it now in the videos. But bear with me because it's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to it 100%. I still have tendencies to reach over with my thumb and spin the camera around, and it doesn't work, and it sits there, and I fight around with it for a little bit. At the same time, when I turn my head to look, back at it, my natural reaction, if I want to see something over in, like right now, if I want to see something over in the left-hand corner, my natural reaction is sort of look over that way. Well, if I do, I lose my camera. I lose the reverse look. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. So, but I am digging it. It's very nice. And so we'll discuss track IR a bit during this whole video because I do want to discuss that and just give you my thoughts on it, how I installed it and everything else like that. Before we do that though, let's just kind of look at where we're at with this, and we'll get to working and we can discuss that as we work. So this is all canola here. So we've got all these fields that need to be planted. 6 and 7 have already been fertilized, so I'm probably just going to seed during this particular video today. If we look at what we've got in our reserves, so far we got 200,000 in barley, wheat's 160. We could use another 100,000 liters of wheat if we could, but we definitely need some corn, so it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and seed some corn in the field, but we don't have, I can't seed corn with this guy. So for now, let's forget I even mentioned that, and we'll just focus on maybe putting a little bit let's do a field of wheat, and then we'll go from there. Maybe one more field of canola. Maybe we'll make field 6 our wheat field, and maybe do canola in the other field. So the one thing that we came to realize on North Brabant is that with drive control installed on our system, and with the plant destruction enabled, once you do your first pass of seed, any other time you drive over that seed, you're going to destroy it. That is in your headlands, that's in the field, it's wherever. So if you go around the field the first time and then you think you can go around it a second time and overseed, it just doesn't function that way like it would in real life. And if you drive over it, you're going to destroy it. So I'm wondering if it's just best not to even worry about a headland at this point, because I'm not going to be able to get it perfect. I'm going to be able to get close, but I'm not going to be able to get my headlands perfect. Whereas if, I'd need to stop at a certain point and not run over them anymore. Otherwise, I would run the risk of damaging the crop. And if I, so I'd have to make sure I pulled my plow up, way out here somewhere, so that when I came around I wouldn't run over it. And I'm not sure if I should even worry about pulling that off. Because let's be honest, if I'm driving around in a headland, if I just try to work all the way to the ends of the fields and then I come around and just ride around and get that last little bit, if I do it right, am I going to damage as much crop going back around as I'm going to gain with doing the headland? So I haven't really figured that out. So I'm going to try to do this field, setting up and getting a decent boundary, and hopefully not do everything terrible. The biggest issue is with all the different aspects of this is the way these fields are shaped. It's hard to be perfect with your headlands because because the fields are so awkward a lot of times. So I'm gonna try on this one to do better with it, but if I fail, I fail. So that was probably a lot of rambling right there that didn't really come across as anything coherent. So yeah. So just to begin with, I'm going to do a little bit in third person. See, this is where I run an issue right here. If I take this up that far, then I should be okay with my headland, but it's going to take me a little bit adjusting to get this right. Alright, let's get in cab. So we try to do some of this. Whoa! I still have not gotten rid of that button. Really need to. I did it again. Wow, I got to disable that. Alright, so here we go. We'll run through here and see if we can get all this right. This could be the worst seeding I've ever done in my life, but we'll see. I guess the biggest thing is you're just going to have to, at this point, accept the fact that you're going to have some damage in your field, given the fact that drive control doesn't let you do overseeding. So I'll lift up my unit and make my turn, and I'm just going to make a nice tight turn here with my seeder out of the ground, and then reset it and go on. See, I still have issues when I turn around to look out the back window. I turn around and the camera positions, but my eyes don't focus in immediately and my head still moves around a little bit. So I'm still getting used to it. It's going to take me some time. So the whole track IR thing, I am using Upside Down's mod for track IR, and it seems to work really well. Of all the different options that I saw out there for doing this, it seemed like the one that made the most sense. It works really good. It only works when you're in the cab, which I like. I did try to use FreePie at first, and I'll explain why in a moment, but I did try FreePie, and there is a setting on FSUK where you can use FreePie, which is a script program, and you can use the mouse emulator that is in the game or that comes with track IR. And by using the mouse emulator that comes with track IR, you run a script with FreePie that basically communicates between track IR and the mouse simulator or the mouse controller, and basically your head movement controls the virtual mouse, and the virtual mouse controls your camera in the game. And that worked okay. The problem with that is it controlled your mouse, basically. It didn't control a virtual mouse other than your mouse. It controlled your mouse. So that meant that anytime I needed to use the mouse, my head movement was moving the mouse around and was kind of going against my mouse. Even like, especially like when I was on my, if I tabbed out to the desktop to do something like start a recording or to do something else, every time I moved my head around, it would move the mouse around. So yeah, that was sort of bad. Plus, in the game, if I had to do something in course play, when I was using my mouse to do something in course play, my head movement would move the mouse around as well. So you either had to be really still, or you had to toggle your head movements off using a key binding. So it was sort of, it worked, but at the same time it was sort of a pain to deal with. And it wasn't, the other thing is the software that comes with TrackIR to be your mouse controller, a mouse emulator, it didn't allow you to go past 90 degrees of pivot. So when I moved my head this direction, it would stop me right about here, and I wouldn't be able to go 180 degrees around to look out the back window. This was as far as I could get, and that was not anything other than the limitations of the mouse software. So that didn't work for what I wanted to do, so I went back and worked to get Upside Down's version working. So what was the issue with Upside Down's? Why didn't I just go that direction in the beginning, you're probably wondering. That was where I was going to head, but I ran into a little issue. Is I checked out all the software last week before, like right when I decided to make the purchase. I checked out all the software and everything, and should have downloaded it all that day, but for some reason I didn't. I wanted to have the TrackIR here before I started getting everything together and going down that route. Well, between last week when I checked it out, which was like Monday of last week, and today, that second piece of software disappeared off the internet. There are three pieces of software you need. First, you need a program called PPJoy, which is your virtual joystick that you're going to use to move your mouse around. Basically, you're going to tell TrackIR to use that joystick to move your mouse or to move your camera around. So that's going to become the virtual joystick that controls your camera. To communicate between TrackIR and PPJoy, you need a program called TIR2Joy. That piece of software is a tool that was developed by a gentleman who, up until this week, had it on his blog, and it suddenly disappeared when I went to look for it today. So yeah, without it, I couldn't get TrackIR to talk to PPJoy, which is what Upside Down's mod uses to control the camera. So I was at a loss there and couldn't figure out why it disappeared. I searched for quite a while on the internet to try and find that piece of software and to figure out where it went to, and why, if maybe I was just having an issue finding it or whatever. Ended up messaging Upside Down and talking to him about the situation, and seeing if he had any suggestions for other software to use to communicate between TrackIR and the PPJoy or other solutions. He and I talked about FreePie, about using it and everything else like that. But so basically, after I did the FreePie thing, I just looked a little bit more, And luckily I found somewhere in an archive discussion in a forum, someone had posted a direct link to the actual file for TIR to Joy. And luckily, even though the guy has taken down the support page for the particular piece of code, software, tool, whatever you want to call it, even though he's taken that down, he has not taken the file down. So I was able to go ahead and, using that direct link to it, download the file. So I got lucky there. Downloaded it, and then I did the whole installation process, and everything's working fine, as you can see in game. So that's sort of the route I had to go down. So this week, next couple of days, I will probably do a little video tutorial on how to set up TrackIR with FarmSim. And when I do, I will put the links to that particular file. I will put the direct link down there to it, so you can get it if you want to get that particular file. I don't know how long that will stay active, but I'm going to go ahead and do that anyways. Either later on tonight or tomorrow, I'll probably do that video and get it posted up for everybody. And again, it'll be for those who have, maybe had some interest in this, but have steered away from it because you maybe thought it was a little bit too hard to do. It's really not too hard to install. The only real concern I have with it is this. The process, again, as I told you, you have to have PP Joy to create a joystick emulator. Then you run the TIR to Joy, which basically is an operator or communicator between the TrackIR program and the virtual joystick. Well, here's my only real issue with this, and why I'm still going to be looking for a better solution. And if somebody has one, please let me know, because I'm not really 100% comfortable with what I'm doing right now because of this. When you go to install PPJoy, you get a dialog box when you first install it on Windows 7 or Windows 8 that will tell you the test signed version of software cannot be installed on your Windows 64-bit computer. To do it, you have to change the boot sequence to boot your computer in test mode, which, from everything I've read on test mode, and I'm not a Windows authority, but from everything my understanding is, you have your digital signatures on your software, that makes it validated for Windows. Well, this particular one doesn't have a digital signature on it, and so in order to run it, you've got to alter Windows to start in test mode. And so I'm not really sure if I'm comfortable with that. Someone who knows Windows a little bit better might be able to tell me a little bit more about test mode. From everything I've read, it seems like I'm not really opening any sort of security threat to my computer. It's more of just like allowing you to run test software that's not, completely validated and might cause some issues with your computer. It doesn't really act like it's opening up a threat to where somebody can install a piece of software that could get in and put a bug on my computer or anything else like that. That's my understanding anyways, from reading about it. And if that's the case, maybe I'm not so bad with it. But anytime you see that it's going to alter your boot sequence for Windows, you just kind of stop and think for a second, is this really something I want to do? So anyway, so you do that install. It does run a code that, just a short little string in your command prompt that alters the boot sequence for Windows, that allows you to start in test mode. You restart your computer, Then you install that piece of software. From there, it's a real straightforward installation. You install PPJoy, which is simple. Once you reboot your computer, and then you grab your TIR to Joy. You run it, and basically all it does is sets up the communication between TrackIR and the PPJoy. And once you do that, you just put the mod into the game and start the game. There's no configuration you have to do in game. All the configuration you have to do really is go into TrackIR and set up TrackIR with how you like it to perform as far as smoothness and speed of camera. I ended up turning the camera speed. It comes default at 1, and I ended up turning it down to like 0.7. 1 was just way too fast for me, and I still may even turn 0.7 down, maybe to 0.6, but it's not too bad. And the only other issue I ran into was I had to change some key bindings on Fraps, because the default keys for TrackIR are 9, 7, and 12, or F9, F7, F12, which those of you who have used Fraps know that the default key bindings for Fraps are F9, 10, 11, and 12. So had to change some key bindings for that, and otherwise everything's been fine. Like I said, I did have to make some adjustments when I was first checking this out. I had to make some adjustments for where I was sitting in relation to the sensor, to make sure that it was able to see the little sensor pickups properly. But once I did that, everything's been good. I ran into an issue where I got a little bit too far away from it. Originally I was sitting about 6 feet away from the TrackIR sensor, and it worked fine when I was looking like this, but when I turned my head around back here, it would lose the registration on it, and it would get real jerky. It wasn't that it completely couldn't sense it looking back this way, but it wasn't getting a really good registration on it. So it would be a little bit choppy. It would be like it saw it, it didn't see it, it saw it, it didn't see all, because it's got to see all 3 little reflectors in order to figure out where your head is and what your movements are. So I just ran into that little bit of an issue, but that was easy to correct. To just move myself forward a little bit, and now I'm sitting terribly close to my monitor, which I'm a little uncomfortable with because, well, I play on a huge monitor, and I've always heard that if you sit too close, you'll ruin your eyesight. So the other little thing I got to get used to is having TrackIR on. Little things throw the camera around while I'm recording. Like if I go to scratch my nose, I need to remember to bring my hand all the way up to my nose and not bring my nose down to my hand, because it jukes the camera around a bit. But I am digging it. I really am liking it. I've played around about an hour with it now, and getting used to it, and definitely like it. I can see where it will help me out in first person quite a bit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to messing around with it more, and once I get it completely tweaked out for my liking, I think it'll be really cool to have. I could have never done that before and have it be smooth and not have the camera jerking all over the place. That's the one thing I think I'll end up, once I get it all adjusted out, I think I'll be able to make a lot smoother videos for you guys in the camera in cab. Now I can use my mirrors. I still got to get something to adjust them in a little bit. And I still just got to figure out all the settings on Track R. There is a mode called Precision, and I'm really not sure exactly whether I should have it on or off. It seems like with it on, I get a little bit more of a floating response when I turn my head. It seems to respond a little bit slower, like to the beginning movement and the end movement. But it's still, the camera moves at the same speed. It just seems like it sort of floats into the stopping position and takes a second for it to verify that it's going to move. It's sort of like, are you sure you're moving your head to the right? Okay, I'll move to the right. And then, are you sure you're stopping? Okay, I'll come to a gradual stop instead of just snapping started and snapping closed. It seems like it sort of starts, then accelerates, and then slows down. At least that's what I perceive it does. I could be completely wrong, which I've known to be, and I just need to read a little bit on it. So, but that's Track IR for you guys. Again, curious how many of you guys are using Track IR. And I'm still interested in how you're actually using it in the game. Are you using Upside Down's mod, or are you using there's another one called, I think it's called VJoy, and then it seems like there is Free Pie. Several different ways of doing things apparently. So I'm interested to find out what people are doing and how you're doing it, so I can, find the route that's best for me. One of the Recon also purchased a Track IR, and I sort of helped him get his set up today. And one of the things he ran into is, of course, he uses a G27 and two Logitech joysticks. Well, he set it all up and we got his Track IR working. Then he got into the farm sim game and he had lost all his settings and everything for his G27. So not sure if that's something that we did, or if that was something that is caused by the joystick emulator, or if he disconnected something when he was trying to hook up his Track IR and that caused an issue. So not really sure. And I'm not really sure if anybody has set this up before and can tell me this. When you set up your virtual joystick, you set up a virtual joystick, but it also has a drop down box to name the controller. So you can have it like controller 1, 2, 3, all the way up to like controller 15. And I'm wondering if you've got multiple joysticks like Recon does, if he needed to make his virtual like controller 5 versus controller 1. If maybe that was the issue. The other thing with it is you have to make sure that when you go into another game like Euro Truck, that you don't try to use the virtual joystick, because it'll mess up a game like Euro Truck that already has Track IR compatibility built in. So I've learned that you have to turn all that other stuff. You just have to not let it recognize it, number one, and number two, you have to turn off the TIR to Joy. You've got to completely turn it off, or Track IR won't even talk to Euro Truck. So little things I'm learning, and as I do learn things, I'll pass them along to you guys. That way it might help you with your decision. Do you want to do it or not do it, and is it something you think you would use in the game? My biggest issue now is just going to be to overcome my muscle memory, that when I need to move the camera, I tilt my head and my eyeballs, train myself that when I tilt my head to the right, I still need to look back towards the left with my eyeballs to be able to see exactly what my camera's doing. That part of it takes a little bit getting used to. If you're making a slight movement here, it's not so bad. It's when you go to the 180 degrees or past 90 degrees really that you kind of get in that situation where you're like, oh, what am I doing? Alright, so what else is going on? What other updates can I tell you about? I've gone over the 1050 and a couple other things. Let's see. Alright. A programming update. Need to let y'all know about. Last week I mentioned that I would probably do a video on DTG fishing and Phase 6. That's probably not going to happen. I got to tell you guys, I like that game and it has a lot of potential. And I'm sure one day it's going to be a phenomenal game to fish with. But I'm quickly losing interest in it. And for a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't carp fish, and I've made that pretty much pointed that out from the beginning, and I have wanted them to put more fish into it, and I was led to believe that that would ultimately be happening. The more I look at what they're doing, I think they're really designing that game to be a competition carp fishing game, and I'm not into that. That's not what I got it for. I bought it because it was supposed to be, if it had said DTG World Carp Fishing, I'd have never bought the game. But it really does seem to me like they're headed down a road where it's going to be a carp fishing game. And oh yeah, there's a couple other fish that we put in here to fish for because, well, they're in there, but we consider those, like I said, they added brim fish into it and refer to it as a nuisance fish. I refer to that as dinner. But anyways, Phase 6, they did some stuff in Phase 6 that has just really made the game frustrating, and at the same time they're making some strides forward. But I played for 30 minutes the other night, and in that 30-minute time I hooked one fish. I got one bite in a 30-minute span of time. Really, in 21 minutes, let's say, I had one fish get on the line. And that's sort of ridiculous when you're playing a video game. Yeah, I know you're going for realism in a fishing game, but you don't have to be that realistic. And again, a minute in the game isn't really a minute. There's a scale you ought to have. A minute in game shouldn't be a minute in real life when you're talking about something like fishing. Be a little more, maybe a minute's 5 minutes, something like that. I mean, I know in carp fishing, from what I've been told by those who understand it and live over in Europe, and I've been told that, they'll go out there and find a campsite and put their rods out there and then spend hours camping waiting for their bite alarm to go off and reel their fish in. I fish in the States. I'm not used to that. That's not the way it goes here. If I don't get a fish on in 30 minutes, I'm doing something wrong. I got a boat and a fish finder, and if I can't find the fish, then I'm doing something wrong. And if I find them and I can't get them on, I need to change lures. And I need to change presentation. And then if I don't get them, well, then I need to, obviously there's something with the weather or something else like that, and I need to change presentation again. Because look, I've never been fishing with live bait that I don't catch something. And I don't know, that was just frustrating to me that I spent 30 minutes in a game and couldn't catch a single fish. Now, how am I going to record an interesting and informative video for you when I can't even catch a fish in 30 minutes? Nah, sorry. Well, then here's the next part of it. They've added a new feature into the game. They've added the ability to net your catch. Okay, that's pretty cool. Well, the problem with it is they haven't quite worked out the mechanics on it. So, you go to net your fish, but because the mechanics aren't quite right on there, most of the time you end up losing your fish. When I did finally catch one fish online, at the point I had done it, I had set my rods up, and I had them doing the old sit there and wait for a fish to come along mode. As the folks had pointed out, that's the way you carp fish. So I had casted out 3 different lines, and I had them sitting out there in the field doing their thing, and out in the water doing their thing, and stood there like an idiot doing absolutely nothing for the longest amount of time. And 20 minutes went by, and I finally got a bite. And at the point I did, if the green right here is the water line, at the time I was standing about where my front tire was from the water line. I picked up my pole and proceeded to fish. Well, that was a mistake, because once I finally got the fish up to the bank so I could land it, I went to pull out my little fish net, which is on a pole, by the way, and land my fish. But because I was 2 steps away from the water line, it wouldn't let me enable the fish net. Wouldn't let me reach out there with a fish net on a pole into the water 2 steps from the bank and land my fish. So I stood there for a minute or so, frustrated, trying to get it to work, and my fish got away. So, yeah, not really happy about that. And even if you are standing at the bank, reaching down with your little fish net, trying to get the fish in the net, you don't have like really good control over the fish to manipulate it into the net, and the controls on the net aren't really good, so that you can't really reach way on out there and lower your net into the water and pick the fish up. You just kind of hit your W key to lower it into the water. Your S key backs it out of the water. Your A and D key move it left and right. So that's sort of the mechanics on it, right? Well, if you're not far enough, if you didn't reel the fish in close enough to the bank, you can't reach out there and grab it. If you don't have enough tension on your line, you can't pick the fish up high enough to get it into the net, and you can't lower the net down low enough to get the fish. And you see what I'm going at? It's unforgiving, and the mechanics aren't really good on it. So it sort of has really ruined the game for me, and not having a whole lot of fun playing it. They took what was a functioning game in Phase 5, was playable and enjoyable, and destroyed it with Phase 6. They put the multiplayer in, but the multiplayer ain't that awesome. It's not like you can get in a boat and take your buddy fishing. And for the most part, you're not at the same quote-unquote peg fishing together. And as boring as it is, you're sitting there in the game watching your buddy scratch his butt while you scratch your butt, waiting on a fish to get on for 30 minutes. And so it's they got a lot of work to do with that game. So, in contrast, I mentioned to you there's another game called Fishing Planet, which Landy has gotten a copy of, and I should get a copy of later on this week. And it's awesome. It is American fishing, which sort of the funny thing about that game, it's fishing in the States, but it's a game that's being developed by a bunch of people in Poland or something like that to, basically depict fishing in the States. And for the most part, the people who are making YouTube videos on it and testing it and giving them comments and feedback on it are all Europeans. So you have a game developed by Europeans with feedback from people who live in Europe who've probably never fished in the States and telling them what changes they need to make on the game. So I kind of find that humorous. So I'm kind of excited to get involved with it because it'll actually be somebody who's fished in the States, who understands fishing in the States and knows that the little thing that you hook to your line that floats your bait and controls how deep your bait goes into the ground, that's called a float or a bobber. It's not called a buoy, which someone referred to it as a buoy the other day in a video. And the funny thing was, he was I need to fold that up since I'm done. He was commenting on how we in the States pronounce it wrong. It's called a buoy, but we in the States refer to it as a buoy. We in the States, buddy, we refer to it as a bobber or a float. We don't or a cork, even if you're using a cork. We don't refer to them as buoys. Buoys, those are the things that are out in the water to mark the channel. Just thought I'd point that out. Anywho, it's sort of like we call it a hood, you call it a bonnet. Yeah. It's a trunk, not a boot. So anyways, back to what I was talking about. Further to add a nail into the coffin of DTG fishing is the fact that you can fish for just about every species of fish that you would fish for here in the States, including bass, pike, crappie, bluegill, all that good stuff. Not just the carp. So, yeah. Anyway, so, probably not going to see another DTG fishing video unless it's for me to do a contrast and comparison to Fishing Planet. And as soon as I get Fishing Planet, I'll be doing a video on that. Other than that, I will probably start making, now that I got my track IR, I will probably start making a lot more Euro Truck videos. If you're not into Euro Truck, I understand, but it's July and I need to start doing some Euro Truck more. And if I'm going to be playing Euro Truck more, I might as well be doing a video on Euro Truck more. Now, what does July have to do with Euro Truck? Well, all the rumors that I've heard from the word go was that the release of American Truck Simulator should be in August of 2015. It's July. You know where I'm headed, don't you? As I nod my head up and down. So I'm thinking that pretty soon there should be some American Truck Simulator. Now, Landy will be quick to point out that, Pavel and the rest of the guys hasn't really said anything about when American Truck Simulator is going to be put out, and that even Pavel himself has said it won't be put out until it's ready. So they're not going to set a date until they're ready to set a date and that the game's ready. Well, there's been some things go on in the last month that just lead me to believe they're gearing up for the release of it. Little things like they went to the big electronics seminar and expo, and they had a big time showcase on it. I mean, big time showcase on it. They were the feature of the day that one day, and I mean, it was a big time show and had all kinds of units and people playing the game, showcasing it, and then suddenly their Steam channel has changed, where it used to be saying, where it used to just be a place marker for the game on Steam, it now actually says coming soon, and almost has some like an ordering purchase thing soon. I forget exactly what it was, but when I saw it, I was like, ooh, that's changed. And yeah, little things like that. The fact that they changed their website for American Truck Simulator and touted the fact that they had updated and changed the website, or actually put out a new website for American Truck Simulator. It just leads me to believe that that time frame for August is gotta be pretty legit, or darn well close to it. Maybe it's not August, but it may be September. So another reason why I'm buying Track IR, and will probably buy a G27 shortly, is because I do expect that game to be coming out fairly soon. And so I'm just kind of getting the fever to get back into the truck and drive and do it. And you know, may not have nearly as much to talk about in those games, but we'll have fun. Still the same. But yeah, we'll probably be doing a few more Euro Truck videos to get used to Track IR, and you know, just doing videos on, you know, Euro Truck, or doing truck videos period. So I'll probably do some more of those. And somebody asked me if I do some more Euro Truck videos. Again, I was kind of holding off, but now that I got Track IR, I will probably get in there and do it. So yeah, so I'll probably be doing some more of that soon. And again, every time I talk about this stuff, I just feel like I should remind you that I'm not going anywhere from farm sim videos. I like my farm sim videos, and I'll keep doing them. The one more thing that I almost forgot to mention, and I should talk about, is sort of farm sim related. Well, it is farm sim related. I always get a ton of questions about where'd you get that trailer, where'd you get that trailer, where'd you get that mod, because people just don't look for themselves. Most of them are pretty easy to find. You just gotta look. And a lot of people just don't. And so every day, I can guarantee every day I get at least two, you know, either emails or posts on videos. Where'd you get that mod? Where'd you get that mod? So I have painstakingly taken the time to go through my mods folder and list every single mod that I have. And I've put it on a spreadsheet. Next to it there is a description column which is not necessarily filled in. And then there is a link to where that particular mod can be found. And I've made that beginning yesterday, but also in today's video, I've made that available to you guys. So if you look in the show notes, at the top of the show notes, you'll see a listing for my Twitter location, my Facebook location. You'll see... Wow, so I got kicked out of the game a little bit earlier, and thanks to Windows giving me a little notice. And apparently when I came back in, I don't think I hit Fraps to start recording again, because I have a little issue with Fraps that if you get kicked out of, this particular game perhaps doesn't want to work. It stops recording and you have to restart your recording. So apparently I got kicked out of the game. I didn't restart the recording, so I just recorded a rather long time saying stuff and don't remember what I said, don't remember what it was, but I recorded quite a bit and lost it. So do apologize for that. Yeah, so this video might be a little bit more abbreviated than normal, just because of that, because I don't know what I was saying and I don't know where I left off. And if I start rambling now, I'll just probably be rambling about stuff that, well, I don't know what I was talking about. So I'm going to wrap the video up at this point and just say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and come on back tomorrow for another one. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. And if you like the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Boy, I've been missing some spots right there. But yeah, like the video and come on back tomorrow, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.